For your attendance today. My name is Ray Cool. I'm CEO of PBSI Technology Solutions. Our topic today, tools and tips to manage passwords. I dare say every single one of us struggles with the number of passwords we need to manage today. So some time ago, I gave in and started using a password manager. It's an excellent idea, but we're going to talk about today very concise set of information, and our goal today is not to sell products and services. In fact, we don't sell a password manager. We help clients with security, and it's toward this end that we want to communicate what do we do, what are our choices in dealing with passwords. So why does this demand our attention? That'll be very quick and easy to see. We'll talk about some guidelines for those of us who manage passwords, even if we don't use a password manager. Look at 3 practical options, including a password manager, and 2 that are not. And I'll do a short demonstration of LastPass, the password manager that I use. It's the only good one out there, but walking through exactly how does this work, and then make a brief comment about public Wi-Fi. It's a separate topic, but also very important to our security. So thanks once again for joining. Many of you, thank you very much, have been long-standing clients of PBSI. Some of you are brand new clients of PBSI. Some of you, this is your first exposure to PBSI. So for those who don't know us, we provide technology and security services for clients in all kinds of organizations throughout Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. And as CEO, if you've come to another webinar, you've heard me say this before, I am blessed to know that 75% of our staff have been with us for 10 years or more. We have a lot of really good people who've been here for a long time. And what that means to me as CEO is I can go on vacation and know that clients get handled and things get attended to. Good people produce results. So as clients, you are much appreciated. Thank you for your attendance. You already know the internet is a dangerous place. The reason, and some of you, if you've attended other webinars, you've seen this screen before. I'm going to do a short demonstration of a dark web password exposure check. The reason I'm going to do this is fundamental to the reason that password management is important. There are now 3.1 billion email addresses available for sale on the dark web, and 1.2 billion of them have exposed cracked passwords. That means email and password combination that is out there that can be used on US Bank, Huntington Bank, any 401k plan. Once a combination has been exposed, it's out there for hackers to freely try and use to gain access to other sites. And there have been just thousands and thousands of large hacks. I'm going to do a short demonstration of, in fact, I'm already logged into this site, but I need to re-authenticate, which is a good thing. You will want to know that this is, for security purposes, really important. They won't let me stay logged in without my 2-factor authentication, which I'm going to my iPhone now and re-sign back in. Need to start this entire re-sign process. I'll do that now. Aren't you glad to know that the security company that provides this dark web search tool practices security? So you'll notice, by the way, that I get a notice on my screen when I logged in. It's asking me if I want to add a password to LastPass, and I'm going to say no. I don't store the password to this site in my password manager. What I'm going to do on this site is I'm going to go and do a query, and I'm only going to expose PBSI. I'm going to find all of the email addresses from PBSI employees who've ever been exposed. So I'm going to search now, and it tells me there are 63 exposures out there, some of which have happened fairly recently. So down the left-hand side, you see email addresses. So some of these people are no longer with PBSI and haven't been for many years. The point is that at some point in time, this email address was used with this password, and this email address was used with this password. So staff long ago have been made aware of this at PBSI, and these passwords have been changed, but the idea is PBSI, reportedly a great security company, right? Well, the same thing happens to employees at PBSI as happened to employees in your organization, which is we stored our password with some place where we thought it was secure, and they got hacked. Once they get hacked, LinkedIn, I mean, there's all kinds of data out there. This is all data that's available for sale at very, very inexpensive prices out on the dark web where the bad guys go. So once those passwords are exposed through somebody else's hack, what we need to do is be aware of it. And we will do this free search for any client. So if you want us to do a search for your domain or individual email addresses, send us an email and we'll be happy to do that search for you. We pay a monthly fee to subscribe to the security service. But the thing I wanted you to be aware of is that just because we, you, me, and all of our other staff practice, quote, safe behavior on the internet doesn't mean our passwords haven't been exposed. Therefore, we can't use the same password for lots of sites. Therefore, we have a problem. How do we keep track of what now is a virtual requirement that we use different passwords on all different sites? And a password manager is virtually the only good solution. But I'm going to move on to some practical ideas. So change your passwords if it's been compromised. Honestly, changing passwords on a regular basis is not really critical. If you have a password that's never been compromised, it's not at risk. If you don't know if it's been compromised, then change it. If you have PBSI do a search and we know that your password's not out there for sale, then there's no critical reason to change it. However, any place where you've used duplicate or normal or easy passwords, change them. So once a password's been compromised, you can eliminate the compromise of that site simply by changing your password. An idea is to make passwords variations of a never stored normal. So I do this. I have what I call normal 8, and it's not even 8 characters, but I never store that combination, but I make passwords that are variations on it. I add characters at the beginning, I capitalize the third letter, I add characters to the end of it, and so I can look at how I've stored something. I'll show you how I do this in a minute. This is an idea. If you don't use a password manager, you can still store passwords in a way where they're never really stored, but you know what they are. So I'll come back to that idea, but change your passwords. Important here, anybody who's in an organization, make sure employees follow this practice. Don't reuse work passwords on personal sites and vice versa. I know it's very convenient to use your work email address for home sites, and if you do that, make sure that you don't use the same passwords, because if you expose your home information at target.com and you use the same email address and password, then all of a sudden you've exposed your entire workplace to the potential hack, which can turn into something bad. Most successful spear phishing attacks where companies are scammed out of lots of money result from an individual password within the organization that first is cracked, and then they work their way from there to executive emails and do damage from there. So don't reuse passwords. Two-factor authentication, which means you use a password and something else. So increasingly, it's a thumb scan or a face recognition on your phone, or it's another authentication tool or a text to your phone. But enable two-factor authentication, it really does help. It means that you must be there with your phone in order for access to happen. It's a little bit of a hassle, but really it works, and it's highly recommended. So if you want to find out if your passwords have been compromised, let us know. We'll check them for free. So these are some guidelines. Now I'm going to talk about 3 practical ways that you can store passwords and keep them safe. So my first and main point will be use a password manager, but I'm going to demonstrate that last. The other 2 examples that I'm going to give you are, one, you could store passwords in an encrypted document. It has to be encrypted. Encrypted means it's password protected. And I'll show you an example. I do not do this, but I'm going to show you a demonstration of how it might work. So I use OneDrive in the cloud, and I have a set of files I store there, and one of those files is called Ray's Fake Passwords. And this is an encrypted document. So when I try and open it, I'm prompted for a password. Now, because these aren't real passwords, I don't keep a long password, but if I had all my passwords in this document, rest assured I'd have at least a 10 or 12 character password to open this document. And here is simply a list of sites and which email address is associated with it and what password is associated. So these aren't real, but here's my example that I mentioned earlier. If I have my normal 8, then I'm saying plus these characters. My normal 8 substituting the digits for this plus these characters. It's an idea where no one ever knows what normal 8 is, and so even if somebody had this document, they still wouldn't know my password, but I can look at this and know what my password is by using my brain. So if you do this, I highly encourage this to be encrypted, because this is the keys to the kingdom, as everyone knows, if all of your passwords are in it. But by keeping it on the cloud, then when you're on your PC, your home PC, your iPhone, your Android, you can get to your documents in the cloud and open up that document. So hence you're sharing it no matter where you are. The problem is encryption can be broken. If somebody steals that file, ever gets access to that file, then they can take that, and there's nothing to prevent somebody from decrypting that given enough time. So second option is a variation on that. I use OneNote, Microsoft's OneNote, for a lot of things. It's basically my personal organization tool. You can have in OneNote an encrypted tab. So I'm going to show you how that works. So in my OneNote, this is my to-do list, and I have a home to-do list, and I have other things, books that I want to read. I have another tab. Again, I don't use this. It's for demonstration, called encrypted tab. And you can see that when somebody comes here, they don't know what's there. When I click on it, it prompts me for a password. And inside of that, I could then store the same thing I was storing in my Word document and make changes to it here. And OneNote is synchronized across all of your devices as well. So if you use OneNote on your desk PC, you can get to it from your laptop, from your iPhone, iPad, Android, and so forth. And by requiring a password to get to it, if you're using OneNote anyway all the time, which I do, then this is probably more convenient than keeping a separate document. On the right-hand side, you see a picture of the same information stored here that I did a screen print of my iPhone, the same information. Once I change it in one place, it changes in the other. So those are two fairly straightforward, simple ideas. Encrypt the document that you can have access to, and or encrypt a tab in OneNote. But really the preferred, more secure and more convenient method is to use a password manager. I used to use Dashlane. It's a fine password manager. There are others. There are some free password managers. I use LastPass. It's cost effective. It's free, in fact. That includes virtually all the important features. It synchronizes, the free version synchronizes across all of your devices automatically. The one feature that causes me to want to spend $24 a year for the premium version is that it provides secure access to trusted persons. So I invite my wife, and she has immediate access. I wish she'd access the passwords more frequently, but she has access right away. I could provide access to our kids or accountant or whoever you trust, and their access can be based on time frame. So if I have not logged in for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, you pick the time, then that person gains access. So it's a way to provide run over by the truck protection. So the premium version is available, except for that feature. The free version has all the same features. I actually subscribe to LastPass Family, which for $6 a month allows up to 6 different accounts. So I've given those to our kids, encouraging them to use LastPass as well. So the idea of a password manager is that it provides secure password encryption and auto shares among devices. the encryption level used by password managers is the very, very highest level encryption that I think the hardest to break. To my knowledge, and I've reviewed this, and I do with some frequency, there's never been a password manager that has been hacked. I'm not saying that will not happen, but somebody asked a question in signing up, is LastPass secure? I sure hope so is the answer, and I believe so. That's true of every password manager that's out there so far as I know. The reason is the passwords are all stored in a very, very secure site that is controlled by the password manager company. So LastPass passwords are not ever stored on my PC or my laptop or my iPhone. They're all stored in LastPass's protection in the cloud. And auto synchronization is what's really important. In addition, password managers generally autofill passwords and auto ask to remember your passwords. There's a difference between a password manager and a browser. So I use Chrome as my browser. Internet Explorer does the same thing. And we've all seen this. I go to a website, I create a username and password, and my browser pops up and says, do you want to remember this? And you can do that for a site that is not really important. If you're not putting your credit card there, where you don't feel like you're, if you choose to store passwords in your browser, go ahead and do it, but the passwords stored in your browser are not encrypted at the same level. They are not, they don't have the same security as a password manager. And the browser vendors, Google and so forth, will tell you that as well. So password managers will auto store your passwords and you can use them from there. So I've gone through here. This isn't a live demonstration. I do use LastPass and you saw a little bit of it at work, but here's how you start with LastPass. So the first thing is you would go to the site itself. So you go to lastpass.com, and I'd highly recommend go to the site. If you get an email that says click here for LastPass, I would not do that. LastPass offers discounts on their site that you can't get through others. Plus, when you load software from a non-vendor site, you're always at risk that you get something bad. So go to lastpass.com if you choose to do this. And once you log in, create your free account, you'll give it your email address and you'll give it your master password. So this is really important. Your master password, you want to make probably at least 8 or 10 characters. The longer you make it, the more secure it is. But I would say don't make it too darn complex, uppercase, lowercase, uppercase, lowercase. I wouldn't do that because one thing you'll know is that you will be entering this master password to LastPass all the time. That's how you get to your password manager. And so make it long, but don't make it too difficult for you to, one, remember, and two, execute the keystrokes. And then here is where I might put normal 8 plus XXX minus, cap the third letter, cap the fourth letter, so that I could remember what my password is if I ever get to the point where I can't remember. But that master password is the one thing that you will never store anywhere, and certainly never store electronically anywhere. That you want to remember. So when you then load LastPass, it says, do you want to add your browser extension? I'd recommend yes, you do that. So if Chrome is what you use, add the extension for Chrome. If Internet Explorer, then add the extension. And what that does on the device you're using is it gives LastPass access to the passwords you've stored there. Then there's an option, more options, import. Tell it to import from Chrome, and it will import all of the things you've stored there in the past. And then what you start off with is your LastPass that already has all the passwords you've stored, so you don't have to start from scratch. Then set an account recovery. Give it your phone number. That's really important. You want that for two-factor authentication anyway. And once you've done that and given it your phone number, then you now have automatically imported the things that came into your password manager from your browser. Then go to your browser and delete them. Now you have your passwords stored securely. And when you go to, you can get to a website one of two ways. You can click inside of LastPass and it goes and logs in automatically, or you can go to the website and LastPass will offer to be involved. So what you're doing is giving it the website name, your personal name for it, and you're storing your username and password. Then as time goes on, when you go to a new site and store a new password, LastPass will ask, do you want to store this? And it's really quite convenient, and the important thing is it's quite secure. So again, just summarizing, initial setup, and this is LastPass specific, but the general principle works very similarly in Dashlane, and I can't speak for all the others. But when you do initial setup, do auto import your passwords, and you'll be prompted on different devices. Do you want to remember your username? The answer is yes. Remember me? Yes. Remember my password? No. Never auto save your master password. Remember me? Yes. Password? No. The good news, if you're using a device with biometric authentication, so every iPhone that's at all recent either has fingerprint recognition and or face recognition. And when you're using LastPass, you can tell it to remember your face or your thumb scan so that you do not have to actually enter your password to get into LastPass on your mobile devices. So it becomes quite convenient. So don't save your master password. Do set your security choices, including your recovery mobile number and a secondary email address. And then go ahead and download on your other devices. Do not go and add another account. Just download the app. The app is free on the App Store or the Google Android Store. And when you download the app on your other device, then log in with the same login and password, and synchronization is immediate and automatic. So whatever you change on one device is automatically there on the other. So my recommendation on this is don't be afraid of it. Just give it a try. Sign up for a free account. Tell it to import your passwords. Give it a try. It's not difficult. And we all know the problem that it solves. Very, very hard to remember passwords. And no matter what other choice you have, it's either inconvenient, you have it on paper, and you might lose it, or it's not with you mobily, or you store it electronically, and then you start running into real risks. All right, so that's my password information. I'm going to move on to a second short topic today, and that is public Wi-Fi. Public Wi-Fi means anything that's not password protected where you know and control the network. So generally, work networks are secure. One would presume so. Any PBSI client, we've helped you make your work Wi-Fi secure, meaning that there aren't people who are on that network who are unknown people. All other public Wi-Fi is not secure. Airports, Starbucks, hotels, airlines, airplanes, restaurants, guest Wi-Fi at trusted places like your CPA firm, they are public, they are not secure. So what does that mean? I can show you a short video. It's really quite frightening if you want to think of it that way, where somebody can walk into a Starbucks or sit in their car with a backpack, no wires, no anything, and just using a battery-powered device, they can listen to and watch every keystroke on every device on that network. So if you log into your bank site, it knows the username, it knows the password, you've just been compromised, and you don't even see anybody around you who looks sneaky. The more obvious the environment, airports and so forth, it's not secure. And simply the process of keying in your email at your username and password makes it perfectly publicly available to anybody on the same network. Okay, password hacks on public Wi-Fi are common because they presume trust of the host. You're in Starbucks, I trust Starbucks. Well, no, Starbucks is not the person you're trusting everyone who else is on the network. And there have been famous hacks. Trump Wi-Fi scammed 1,000 RNC attendees because they presumed, oh, Trump Wi-Fi, well, this one's okay. Sorry, that was a hacker who set that up. So what is a virtual private network, and why would you use a VPN? A VPN solves the problem of public Wi-Fi. So a VPN establishes an encrypted tunnel point-to-point between you and one other place. And I use a VPN software. The one I use is, again, not necessarily because it's the best or the only one to recommend, but I use a VPN product called Nord, N-O-R-D, NordVPN. And there's a fee. I would not recommend using a free piece of security software because free gets its money somewhere. What are they doing with your information? So the vendors who offer free options also offer chargeable options. And if you're going to go to the place of using a VPN, I would use one that's not free. I think Nord is $29 a year, something like that. But it establishes, when you turn it on, a private channel between you and wherever you're connecting to. The encryption means that the information is garbled. Traffic that comes over internet or Wi-Fi can be read. That's what happens in your Starbucks network. Traffic that's encrypted can't be read unless somebody can break the encryption key. So the idea of using a VPN simply means you're creating a tunnel between you and whoever, so that now if you're in Starbucks and you're using a VPN, somebody could be watching and seeing that there's traffic, but they can't interpret it. So the contents of the traffic are safe. So how to be safe on public Wi-Fi? First of all, this is really important. Cellular is safe. Cellular is automatically encrypted. So you want to use the internet in Starbucks? Turn off your Wi-Fi. Use cellular. Perfectly safe. Always encrypted. So stay away from Wi-Fi. If you feel like you want to use Wi-Fi for either speed or to save minutes, then you can do Google searches. Anything you do that you don't care if it's interpreted, go ahead, use your public Wi-Fi. But if you use public Wi-Fi and you're going to log into a site that requires a password, I'd recommend a VPN. So I'm clicking here on a link that we stored. This is simply PC Magazine's review of best password managers, and you can do your own analysis of whether these are good, bad, or indifferent. But there are lots of choices. We don't sell VPNs, but the way a VPN works is, this is a picture of my iPhone. I go to my iPhone and I click an icon for Nord, and it selects a VPN site. And then when this little thing comes up on my iPhone, I know that I am Wi-Fi connected. When I turn it off, there's nothing there. So this is the symbol that you know that you have a secure connection. And if you think you connected your VPN software but it didn't work, then you will not see that message. So on public Wi-Fi, use cellular or use a VPN if you're going to enter passwords. Summary of password management principles: change passwords if you have any concern that they've been compromised. Don't mix work and home passwords. Use a password manager or some other secure alternative. Use two-factor authentication whenever it's available to you. And if you want to find out if your passwords have been compromised, let us know. We'll give you the answer for free. That's simply because there's no good way to charge for that. And I would rather people know if your passwords are compromised than not. So we're finished with content. I want to thank you for your attendance. Again, many of you, long-term clients, new clients, thank you very much. Your partnership with PBSI is much appreciated. We're happy to help anyone with other items that we offer. The topic today, there's nothing that PBSI can do for you other than to help you install and answer questions about. So we're happy to support you in your endeavors. But if you want to do LastPass or Dashlane, you go to the site directly, download it, and I wish you all the best with that. So we are finished. Thank you very much for your attendance. Hope everybody has a good day.